An alien warrior couldn't move. A human refused to leave him behind, powerful HFY tail. The war was supposed to be over. The skies above Daren-Five still burned, glowing with the aftermath of orbital bombardments that erased cities, forests, oceans, everything that had once breathed. The air itself was heavy, metallic, tasting faintly of plasma fire and loss. Amid the silence of fallen machines and shattered armor, a single figure lay motionless, a massive alien warrior of the Zarthian Dominion, paralyzed from the neck down, his breathing shallow, his eyes fixed on the dim orange sky. He had been a titan once, 8 feet tall, armored in scales that could deflect small arms fire, bred for victory, not mercy. Now he could not even lift his hand to brush away the ash settling on his face. His body was broken, spinal impact from a human rail shot. The Zarthian med unit had long since retreated, their protocol clear. No retrieval of critical casualties under enemy fire. He knew what that meant. He was already a ghost waiting for permission to vanish. Hours passed. The battlefield grew quiet. Even the drones overhead drifted away, their work done. The only movement came from the dying fires and the faint wind, carrying the distant echoes of engines leaving orbit. The alien warrior thought he'd die alone, forgotten, the way soldiers of every world always do when wars burn out. Then, footsteps. Slow. Careful. Human. The sound made his blood freeze. For all his warrior pride, fear stabbed through him. He'd seen what humans could do. Small, fragile creatures, but impossible to predict. They'd fought like fire itself, unrelenting, irrational, emotional to the point of madness. And now one of them was walking toward him across the field of corpses and smoke. The human stopped a few meters away. Male soldier, standard UNSF armor scraped and blackened by heat. His rifle hung low, not raised. His helmet's visor reflected the dying flames, but the voice that came through his comms was calm. "You're still alive." The alien's voice rasped, barely a whisper. "Why are you here, human? You're kind." "Has won. Leave." But the human didn't leave. He crouched down, scanning the alien's wounds. "You're paralyzed," he said quietly, almost to himself. "Spine severed. Damn!" The alien bared his fangs weakly. "You think I fear death?" "No," the human said, meeting his eyes. "But you shouldn't die like this." For a long moment, neither spoke. Wind swept across the ash and broken metal. Somewhere in the distance, a human evacuation ship roared upward, disappearing into the clouds. The human soldier's radio crackled. "All units, fall back to orbit. Zone is secured. Leave no one behind." He looked down at the alien. No one behind. He could have walked away. Nobody would have blamed him. The enemy was the enemy. This creature had probably killed dozens of his people. And yet something in that broken body, the labored breath, the flickering defiance in its alien eyes, pulled at something deep inside him. Not logic, not duty. Something older. He slung his rifle across his back and said, "I'm not leaving you here." The alien blinked slowly, confused. "You would aid me? A soldier of the Dominion?" The human didn't answer. He pulled out his med kit and started working, scanning, stabilizing, muttering to himself about nerve damage and tissue trauma. His hands were steady, but his heartbeat raced. He could feel the weight of what he was doing. Treason by some standards, insanity by others. But he kept going. Night fell. The fires dimmed to embers. He built a small shelter using debris, patched the alien's wounds with every bit of biofoam he had left. When the alien's breathing steadied, he finally sat beside him, staring at the stars, the same stars they had both fought under. "You humans," the alien murmured weakly. "You fight like creatures who've lost something you can't name. Rage, sorrow. It burns in you." The soldier glanced at him. "Maybe we just fight because someone has to, or because you cannot stop." He almost smiled. "Maybe that too." Hours passed in silence. Above them, streaks of fire marked escape pods breaking orbit. The soldier knew the command would count him missing in action by sunrise. He didn't care. He looked at the alien beside him. Enemy, yes, but also another life clinging to the edge of the same universe. When dawn came, the human tried to signal a medevac drone. No response. Communications were down. The battlefront had moved to another system. No one cared about a forgotten patch of ash on a half-dead planet. By midday, he found a way to lift the alien onto a makeshift sled, broken plating tied with cables. He began to drag it toward the nearest ridge, hoping to find shelter, maybe a comm beacon. Each step cut through exhaustion and dust. The alien protested weakly. "Why, are you doing this?" Because I can, the soldier replied, teeth clenched. And because no one else will. The alien stared at him, bewildered. You gain nothing from this, the soldier laughed under his breath. You think everything we do has to be for gain? That's your mistake. By nightfall, he'd reached the ridge. There, among twisted remains of a Zarthian transport, he found partial shelter from the wind. He started a small fire. Dangerous, maybe, but the cold was worse. The alien watched, silent, his massive body trembling from the pain. You risk death, the alien said. For your enemy. Your kind are mad. The soldier looked at him through the smoke. We've been called worse. That night, as the storm rolled in, the human wrapped his own thermal blanket around the alien's torso to keep his core temperature stable. When the wind howled and lightning struck the distant plains, he shielded him from the debris. The alien could feel the human's heartbeat when he leaned in to check his pulse. Fragile, irregular, but unyielding. You humans, he whispered, voice fading, are built to break, yet you refuse to. The soldier didn't respond. He was staring at the horizon, a faint flicker of blue light, a rescue beacon. By morning, they reached it. The soldier fell to his knees beside the old comm tower, hands shaking as he forced the transmitter to life. This is Sergeant Hale, UNSF, he called out, voice raw. 2 survivors at grid sector 9G, request immediate evac. Repeat, immediate evac, static. Then a faint reply. Sergeant Hale, you're not authorized to extract enemy combatants. Leave the Zarthian and return alone. He closed his eyes. The alien turned his head slightly. Go, human. You have done enough. Hale pressed the comm again, voice firm. Negative. Extraction is for 2. I'm not leaving him. There was silence on the other end. Then the line went dead. The wind howled across the ruins. Hale sat there staring at the transmitter, the weight of command rejection settling on his shoulders. He looked down at the alien, once his sworn enemy, now just another life depending on his stubbornness. He exhaled slowly. Then we make our own way. For 3 days they moved across the wasteland, Hale dragging the sled, rationing food, sharing water with the alien even when it meant going hungry himself. He talked sometimes, just to fill the silence, stories of home, of oceans and sunlight and laughter. The alien listened, not understanding all the words but feeling their warmth. On the 4th night they reached the canyon. Beyond it lay the extraction point, but the sound that greeted them wasn't rescue, it was engines, Zarthian scavenger drones, sweeping the field for survivors and technology, hostile to anything human. Hale crouched behind a rock, thinking fast. They'll kill us both if they see you like this. The alien's eyes glowed faintly. Then leave me. You've done more than your code demands. Maybe, Hale said, loading his rifle. But humanity isn't a code. The drones descended. Plasma fire lit the dark sky. Hale stood his ground, firing shot after shot, covering the alien as debris exploded around them. One drone crashed, then another, but the third fired straight through his chest plate. He stumbled, dropped to his knees, still shooting, until the last drone fell smoking into the canyon. Silence again. The alien tried to move. Couldn't. He could only watch as Hale crawled toward him, blood staining the sand. The human smiled faintly. Looks like we made it. The alien's vision blurred. Foolish human. You could have lived. Yeah, Hale whispered, leaning back beside him, eyes on the stars. But what kind of life? If I left someone behind? He pressed a final command into his wrist pad, an emergency beacon keyed to both their biosigns. The device blinked once, transmitting a faint pulse into the heavens. Then he closed his eyes. Hours later, the pulse reached orbit. When the Zarthian fleet returned following the signal, they found 2 bodies side by side, one alien, one human. But the human was not gone. His med chip had auto-sealed his wound, his pulse faint but present. The Zarthian medics hesitated. Then, by their commander's order, they took them both aboard. Weeks passed. When the human awoke, he was inside a Zarthian medical bay, surrounded by the same species he'd fought against. The alien warrior, now healed, body repaired with cybernetic reinforcement, stood beside his bed. You saved me, Hale murmured. The alien inclined his head. No, human. You saved us both. The war ended months later. The story of the human who refused to abandon an enemy spread through both militaries like wildfire. It became a tale told not of victory, but of something rarer, respect. Years after, at the Galactic Concord Memorial, 2 statues stood side by side. one of the human soldier, one of the Zarthian warrior. Beneath them, an inscription carved in both languages read, "Strength is born of unity, and mercy is the highest form of courage." They say when veterans from either side walk past those statues, they don't see enemies anymore. They see a choice, the same one that started it all, a human standing in the ashes of war, choosing compassion over command. Because in every corner of the galaxy, where logic fails and orders fade, one truth still echoes. Humans may not be the strongest, or the fastest, or the most advanced, but when everyone else walks away, humans stay.